We're following the Bible timeline beginning to end. This is part 4. The Israelites are in Egypt and a new Pharaoh rises to power. He says the Israelites are becoming so numerous that we need to do something about it, because if we go to war, they may side with our enemies and take us over. So the Egyptians made the Israelites slaves and forced them to hard labor. But the more they were oppressed and the more they were enslaved, they continued to multiply and spread. Then the Pharaoh came out with a new order, and that was that every male born to the Israelites would be done away with. The girls could live, the boys could not. Enter Moses. Moses was born to an Israelite mother and father. They hid him for 3 months, but when they were unable to hide him anymore, Mom had a last-ditch effort decided to put him in a basket and placed him in the Nile River. Moses' older sister followed him along the riverbank to see what happened to him. Pharaoh's daughter was down bathing in the river whenever she saw the basket. She goes to it, opens it up, she says, "Oh my goodness, this must be one of the Hebrew babies." For this, Hebrew and Israelites, they're synonymous. Same people. Remember, Moses' sister is watching from a distance. She comes up to Pharaoh's daughter and is like, "Hey, do you want me to go get one of the Hebrew women to nurse this child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said, "Yes, that would be great." The daughter goes and gets Moses' mom. She comes, takes Moses back, and continues to nurse him. Once Moses was weaned, she returned him back to Pharaoh's daughter, and Pharaoh's daughter raised him as her own son. Fast forward a bit and Moses is older. He goes out to watch the Israelites working one day, and he sees an Egyptian beating one of the Israelites. He gets so angry, attacks the Egyptian, and actually kills him. And he hides him there in the sand. The next day he goes out and he sees 2 Hebrew or 2 Israelites arguing and fighting amongst each other. And Moses says, "Why are y'all fighting against each other?" One of the Hebrews turns and looks at him and says, "Well, what are you going to do? Do away with us like you did the Egyptian?" Moses thought, "Oh gosh, my cover's been blown. Everybody must know what I did." Pharaoh ended up finding out, and then he was out to do away with Moses. Moses packs up and flees Egypt and moves to a neighboring land called Midian. Scripture says Moses was there for a long time. The exact length of time I don't know, but it was long enough for him to grow a rather large family. During all that time over in Egypt, things were just getting worse for the Israelites. And they began to cry out to God, "Lord, please help us." And God hears them. One day while Moses was out tending sheep for his father-in-law, he looks over and he sees a bush that is on fire. But he notices the bush is not burning up, so he goes over there to check it out. From within the bush, he hears God tell him, "I've heard my people crying out over in Egypt, and I'm sending you to Pharaoh so that he will let my people go." Pharaoh, Pharaoh, whoa, baby, let my people go. Y'all know I love a good song. That's Vacation Bible School circa 1990. Moses tried to use any excuse he could think of to get out of it. He said, "They're not going to believe that you sent me. I'm not even a good speaker." He asked God several times to send somebody else. Moses was the man for the job, but God agreed to send his brother Aaron with him to help him. God would talk to Moses, Moses would talk to Aaron, and then Aaron would talk to the Israelites. Moses and Aaron get over to Egypt. They tell the Israelites what's going on, and after a little bit of persuasion, they are on board. So it's time for Pharaoh to let God's people go. God tells Aaron and Moses to perform several different miracles. They do that, but Pharaoh calls in his sorcerers, and they perform the same miracles. God sends a series of several different plagues. Pharaoh will think about it, and then he's like, "Nah, I'm not going to let your people go." Finally, God sends a final plague, and that is the death of the firstborn son in every Egyptian home. At midnight, an angel of the Lord would sweep over all of Egypt, and every home that was an Egyptian family, the oldest male would die. Now, God gave the Israelites specific instruction. He said, "Slaughter a lamb. The lamb has to be perfect. And place its blood over the doorpost of your home. That way, when the angel of death comes through, he will know that it's an Israelite's home, and he will pass over it as he makes his rounds." This established Passover, which we still celebrate today. Well, that did it, and Pharaoh let the Israelites go. Now, as they were heading out and they are approaching their final stretch, Pharaoh's heart hardens yet again. And the Egyptians come after the Israelites with plans to attack and bring them back to Egypt. They're at the Red Sea. God instructs Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea." He does that, and the sea parts. They cross over the Red Sea on dry land. The Egyptians follow in after them, but just after the last Israelite steps onto dry land, God closes up the sea and the waters swallow the Egyptians up. You would think the Israelites would be tickled pink that God rescued them and pulled them out of Egypt, but we see that they find anything and everything to complain about. And because of their constant grumbling and lack of faith, the trip from Egypt to the Promised Land that should have taken them 11 days ends up taking them 40 years. We'll get to that in a bit, but first, God is going to establish his law. We know it as the 10 Commandments. That's up next in part 5.